All right. Happy Friday, guys. Again, I was literally just looking at my calendar. I am trying to figure out how many months it's been since we've done the first one of these. Quite a few at this point. Was it 4 or 5 months? But we are back again tonight with a very cute painting. So after last week, and of course we have Jill with us. You can say hello.
Hello.
You guys had requested either a landscape or an animal, and then we did a vote on Instagram, and the drum roll was we wanted to do an animal. So of course we got a flood of different animal requests in, and the very common theme had to be owl. So with that, we chose a cute little animal that we've selected for tonight's painting. I'm really excited. I do think as well it's a cute one to kind of hang on the wall. So we're kind of going for a theme that's something that you'd actually want to hang up in your house. So with that said, we can hop right into it tonight because it's a full hour tutorial. Let's see, what do we have for you? Yes, let's go for it. You ready, Jill?
I am ready. I love doing this painting. It was so cute and so
Isn't
pretty.
it? And you can totally change up the colors, but I totally appreciated that you did purple, my favorite. So Jill has the most idyllic setup. It's just perfect. It literally looks like something out of a magazine here.
But you gotta keep your color organized. You
I
need
know.
to
A
light a
true
little
artiste.
candle, set the mood.
I love the candle. I saw that. I'm like, that's a new addition. As we get closer
Yeah.
and closer to like the autumn months, which by the way, we have a few cool autumn paintings added, but yeah. With this,
Yeah, this is total autumn theme. Like, I don't know what it is about owls. I know they're around all year long, but like every time I think about them, I think fall. And I found this pumpkin spice candle at the shop the other day, and I had to have it because I love pumpkin spice everything. And so I was thrilled that they came out so early because it's so early in the season for pumpkin spice or anything spicy. So
someone's like,
yeah.
what? She's talking about pumpkin spice. You can't talk about that yet. But do you know what happened this week, Jill? Which actually, I'll say it's a couple weeks late for our normal. But do you know what happened this week?
No.
We had Paint by the Pints had their first Christmas booking.
That's
Christmas party booking.
fantastic.
We always, so
Yes.
it usually happens in July, and every single time it catches me off guard because you have total different types of event coordinators, and some people are like, "Hey, can you get packs out tomorrow for an event on Friday?" And our team is like, "Yeah, we'll do it." But then you have people that are super organized and like, "Hey, in 3 events, we're gonna have a Christmas event, and can you host, a Christmas theme with a snowy roof?" And we're like floored every time of like the pure organization and skill of these sports and social committees that have basically scouted out the activity that they want to do and then go for it, book it, because why not? Why scramble as it gets closer? But just it always cracks me up every time. The first booking is always like, okay, I'm in summer mode and now we're planning Christmas. So there you have it.
Well, I mean, it's not really that far off,
I
so I think,
know.
you know, good on them for that.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So we're starting, it actually did also make us start thinking of, wow, we have so many paintings we've done over the last 2 months that are definitely not part of our normal repertoire. So I was saying to Stephen, who helps with the website, that we want to just kind of get some of our paintings up for all the private events that we're doing since we have so many new paintings and all these
Hmm.
tutorials. So loads of new stuff.
Yeah. So speaking of tutorials,
Yes.
I put out all the paint. I mean, I could literally sit here and chat with you for the entire hour, but
Yes.
so I used that light blue and loads of white, and I did put a little dab of white in there, but as always, we are going to use a buttload of white. So
Yes.
put in more than what I had originally put. And then when to that light blue and the white, add just a smidge of that phthalo green, just to give it a nice soft aqua tealy color. And then you're going to paint your entire background of your canvas that color. So
I did a very
Going
similar
back.
color last night in my painting. It's
Oh,
so
really?
fun. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
such a good
I
summer
love this
color.
color. It's such a nice, peaceful, calm color.
It's very summery. I love it.
Yeah, I chose this painting because, like you said earlier, like we had several requests for flowers and landscapes and then animals. And I was like, you know what? Why don't we just combine the flowers and the animals? And I've been seeing these boho style animals all over Pinterest. And I think even IKEA has a few examples of these in their shop, of just the combination of the flowers and the leaves and blending it into the animal. So this was my little version
I love
of
it.
the owl.
And also like the eyes. It always has to be have dramatic eyes. I feel like it should have like eyeshadow. It's a very feminine bird. I love
Right.
it. Yeah.
Right? Her eyeliner is on fleek.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's exactly it. Absolutely brilliant.
So yeah, just use your big brush. If it's streaky, don't worry about it. It's fine. Like, it doesn't have to be a solid color. Um, I have no idea why. I don't even remember painting my little fingertip right there. Oh, I think I remember why. I think there was a piece, like a chunk of dried paint
Oh yeah,
in
and you
there,
were
like
like,
rolling
yes.
around on the canvas. That's why. I'm like, why would I do that? And I'm like, oh, probably just to get chunks of stuff out of the paint.
Yeah, or like the brush bristle. That always drives me mad
Yeah.
when they go loose on the painting. And sometimes it doesn't happen at all. And then I had a painting 2 nights ago and it was like a common theme throughout everyone. Like my bristles were coming off, their bristles were coming off. And I was just laughing because I'm like, this just genuinely doesn't happen. But it's happening to all of us at the same time.
That's weird. That's so funny. So we are just grabbing a chunk of the white paint, just a very light paint, and we are going to sketch in the shapes of the bird. And the bird head is going to be a really large circle, and it's going to be quite big. As you can see, it's taking up a good portion of the top part of the canvas, and probably bigger than your hand. And then you are just going to kind of lightly fill that in with the white, just to make it a little bit lighter than the blue background. And then the body is going to be just straight down the back of the head, down towards the bottom corner. And that's the back of the neck, and then the back of the actual bird. And then the front part around its chest is just going to curve down and then towards that corner as well, but they're not going to meet up. So it's just going to go off the canvas. And then the wing is just kind of mimicking that same shape as the chest. And you're just going to fill that in with the white. And we're going to eventually blow dry it all dry. So you need to get your hair dryers ready.
I feel like I actually did lose my hair dryer for about a week there. And
Oh
of course,
no.
you find it in a bag, but like again, it goes to show A, the weather was decent for a couple of days and you could just air dry the hair. And B, you're not going anywhere fancy because
Yeah.
you're not doing your hair. And that's always been a theme since the very first one of these.
I got my hair cut, so it's not super short, but it's definitely short. And so, like, I haven't even needed to use my hair dryer because it just dries so fast now, which is so bizarre for me in my thick hair. But yeah, now it's about chin length, so it's a nice change.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually did. I also cut my hair short. So, do you ever find when you get a haircut and the hairdresser wants to talk you out of how short you want to cut it? And you're like, no,
Yes.
just go for it.
No, I'm confident.
Yes.
Like, you need to be too. If you're
Mm,
not confident, then we need to find another stylist.
exactly. Oh, it's cute.
So for this here, we are kind of placing the beak and the eyebrow type area. So For the beak, you just kind of find the center and make this little arrow shape going down, and then do these chunks of white going down and around the chin and back up the side of the face.
This really makes such a difference. It's when it absolutely pops. It completely shapes the rest of the painting.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, it's you getting an eye out for where all this kind of, everything is kind of set. If it's off, this is where you can make your adjustments.
Exactly.
So yeah, and it's also giving you an extra layer of that white, so that when you do put down these additional colors, those colors are really going to pop out as well. But just under those cheeks, like to the left and right of the beak, is kind of like that white chunky colors anyways, so it's going to be chunky and not a pure white, so you can see some of that blue throughout it, but it's just going to be the feathers basically. But we're not painting a snowy owl, so it's not perfectly white. And to make those feathers, you're just going to use the edge of your brush and just do quick little flicks of the painting onto the canvas. And here I'm just doing another layer of the white just to help lay a good foundation of color. So
Here comes the hairdryer. I am still in search of the perfect music playlist for when I'm painting. So if anyone has good recommendations, send them my way. I feel like I just want to find like a Spotify radio station or a channel that's like consistently good.
that's tough, because even when I'm painting, like it depends on my mood. So sometimes I'll paint with just like classical music or instrumental, and sometimes I'm listening to like alternative music or like Post Malone. I'll go through a Post Malone, which is ridiculous. And then other times, like I love reading and I love books, but I can't read and paint at the same time. So lately I've just been doing audiobooks. So I've been listening to this book series on Audible, and they're massive, epic stories. And the books themselves are over 1,000 pages. So the first audiobook was 42 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a
So that
commitment.
took me a month. Yeah, but if I'm sitting here painting every day for 3 or 4 hours, I got through it pretty quickly, surprisingly. But I listen to it in the car if I'm driving. So, and yeah, you have to make sure it's a good book to listen to it for 45 hours. And now I'm on the third book of the series, which is 55 hours long. And I've got 30 hours to go.
Would you have anticipated the characters' voices to sound like that, though?
Yeah, it's weird because this particular book series that I'm listening to uses the same voice narrators as a different book series. So in the beginning, it really kind of threw me off because it's the same voices as these other characters of this completely different series.
That's really funny.
So, but now it's okay, and they do a really, really great job. So, no, I really enjoy it. I mean, like I said, I'm on book 3, so it's a commitment enough. So that was my summer, is listening to these epic fantasy novels.
Exactly.
Painting all summer. So to do the top of the head, we are doing this darker teal color, and it's just that blue and that phthalo green, mixing it in and just filling in the top of the head. And we're going to go underneath of the eyes and down and around the chin and the back of the neck.
I made this color yesterday. If you're like stuck and you just have the primary colors of red, yellow, and blue, you can always do blue, mostly blue, a tiny touch of yellow, and a tiny bit of white, and it'll make a nice teal. And these little defining strokes make a big difference as well.
Yeah, you definitely want to paint the way of the shape. You kind of want to mimic that shape with those paintbrushes. So if the head's going up and around, you kind of want to start in that middle and work your way out, like fan it out. You don't want to go side to side. It's amazing how those little tiny paint strokes make the tiniest of differences. So here we went down the back of the neck and down and around the top of that wing. And I'm using the shape of the paintbrush to kind of simulate the feathers. And I was just seeing if it kind of worked actually. Like as I was painting this, I was kind of doing my own little experiments to see, oh, maybe this will work or maybe that'll work. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And if it doesn't, then you just paint over it. I think with feathers though, too, I was kind of getting ahead of myself and painting from the top to the bottom, where whenever you paint feathers, you want to paint from the bottom towards the top. So the bottom layer goes first and then the next layer up a little bit overlaps those bottom feathers. And then that will help it look like that they're feathers layered on top of each other.
Absolutely.
But
even what you have, yeah, I was gonna say, even what you had though, it kind of frames it of where the feathers are gonna stop.
Yeah, and then I end up going over it anyway. So with the purple and then the little white bits, so I mean it all works out. It's fine. So now for the wings and the eye, around the eye color is this pinky coral color. So it's just the red and then the white and then just a little smidge of that yellow. You don't want it too orange. Unless you wanted orange, that's fine too. But we're just going to start with that light pink to put down a nice foundation.
This is some serious eyeshadow. Our bird is gonna be ready for a Friday night on the town.
Yeah, like my daughter's makeup. It's as bright as it can be.
I'm sure she would love to hear that.
I'm sure she wouldn't. She'd probably kill me.
I'd love to see, especially if you're painting this at home and kind of changing up the colors, tag us on Instagram because I could see this going very well even as like a bright orange. I know there's a lot of orange fans out there. Or even you could get away with purple, but something bright so that it stands out. I just absolutely love how much when I look at the painting, the first thing I notice is the eyes. They just pop.
Yeah. Yeah. So for the eyes here, like we put on that light to medium color, and then we're kind of going back underneath of the eye with the darker pink. And like I said, you want to, when you're working under the eyes, you want those paint strokes to go from the eyes down and just do these quick little swatches of color, just flicks of it. You don't want long paint strokes because they're not long feathers.
This is just such a nice ombre you have on the color palette. It literally goes from that dark color all the way down. And now you see you pull it all the way down the side of the bird, which is really beautiful.
Yeah, and they're just streaks and different shades of that color, which also add to that illusion of the feathers. The lighter colors you definitely want on the top of your wing, because that is also mimicking like the highlight or the light reflecting off of the top of that wing. And then as you kind of work your way around the body, it's going to get darker, and then underneath the belly, it's going to get a little bit more neutral colors, and then a little bit more shaded since it's underneath. So for this wing, you want those pink feathers to be, this is where your brush strokes are going to be want to be long and a bit chunky in the colors. So you don't want it all the same tone, because then it doesn't stand out. So you definitely want a little bit of variety with your shades, your tones there. And here's where I'm also did those lower feathers first, and then the next layer of feathers that's going over top of it is overlapping. So the curve of that bottom of that feather is overlapping the lower feathers underneath.
And I think even with this, just play around with the different angles that you can go. It's like you're saying, if you get the right angle, it'll give it the sense that it's curved and it's moving and it's an organic shape. If you do them really like straight, kind of frigid lines, it will look unnatural, if that makes sense. So play around with the shapes, make sure you kind of give them a bit of flow to them. We actually had a very, very cool Paint by the Pints moment. We've been very busy the last couple of weeks, which is amazing. And I'm so, so thankful to all the amazing teams and hen parties and celebrations and birthdays that we've been running behind the scenes. But one of the for us, we were saying it's really cool to watch some of these stories come to life. So, for example, we'll do a hen party, and then you kind of a couple months later, you'll see the wedding photos pop up. And then more recently, we saw one of the women that we did a hen for about a year and a half ago. She had her first baby. So it's just kind of funny to see all of these pictures coming through and saying, "Oh, well, can't wait to get the baby painting," which we'll give the baby a little year, but very exciting. It's so cool to see. Oh, but the real thing I want to tell you is I had a request for painting Kirkpatrick in Mayo a couple weeks ago, and we're like, yeah, absolutely, we'll do that for the hen. And I was just thinking, they're from that area. And long story short, the bride got married last Monday on Kirkpatrick with her and the groom got married. So that was
That's
very
amazing.
cool.
I saw those pictures. It
Yeah, we
was
posted them.
gorgeous.
Absolutely
Wow.
gorgeous. We've added purple since I was telling that, but it's literally just the exact same motion. And if you're making purple at home, you're going to mix your blue and your red together.
Yeah, I saw those pictures and they were so lucked out for the weather.
Absolutely. I mean, it doesn't get better than that, especially to have any sort of clarity up there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get like a good day, especially on top of Patrick, you can see very far. It's incredible.
I had a friend that just climbed that a few weeks ago with her family. I think she said it took her 3 hours to get up there.
Yeah, because especially when you get to the top, there's kind of loose gravel, so it's definitely tricky.
Yeah, can you imagine climbing that in like your wedding gown? Oh my God.
I don't know. I don't know how the logistics work for that at all.
Okay, so yeah, we did a couple layers of the purple. We added a stripe of that teal color and then another layer of purple and then the white. Then we took some of the teal and did these long strokes on the lower part of the wing. And now we are continuing with that teal color and we're going underneath of the eye. And again, it's just this quick, short strokes, especially under that eye. Now I'm making some more of that teal color. And we're going to start underneath of the chin and work our way back up towards the eyes. This actually came out a little bit more green. Now I didn't even wash my paintbrush. I literally just wiped all the excess paint off and dabbed it in the white because like I said earlier, I don't want a clean white, but I wanted it lighter with a variant of color in it. So I just dabbed it right in the white and I'm going right back to that painting and just dabbing it on again.
This painting is definitely reminds me of the elephant in some ways because there's a lot of little detail. So this is again one that I totally anticipate at like 11 p.m. We're gonna get all of our little notes that people have finished, and it's brilliant.
But like, I mean, yeah, they're all little details, but I mean, it's a lot of layers, but it's not hard shapes though. So it's just little flicks. It's just time consuming those little flicks and making sure that everything is kind of covered um but yeah, it's just layers and layers and layers and layers.
Yeah, definitely a little patience, but it goes a long way. It'll be beautiful. And again, because it's our cute little animal, you have to think of what you're going to name him or her. If it's a boy or girl, you have to let us know. I'm thinking of, I'll have to think of a name. I don't know yet.
Yeah, I didn't name this one.
Ooh. We'll have to, I'll put it up on our Facebook then, and we'll have everyone name. I love we get some really cute ideas. Like, I'd say people will be like, Olwen the Owl or something. We'll
So
find
for the
out.
beak, I just made a very soft gray. And I think it was just a little bit of blue and white and just a tiny smidge of the black. Can you hear that in my background? Can you hear like these voices in the background?
What's going on in the background?
there's an equestrian center 2 doors down, and
Oh,
on Friday nights they always have these competitions, or
oh,
either it's a
cool.
competition or they're doing like training. So the guy sits on the megaphone or the speaker or whatever, and he's shouting at these people riding the horses so I can hear all of his instructions, and it drives the dogs crazy.
That's actually, but that is cool because I as well have a beautiful horse that's across the street from me essentially, and we've made friends. Anytime I walk by, he comes over and says hello.
Aw.
Yeah. But
Aw.
that's a very cool skill to
Right.
learn. Up there with my want for learning karate. I'll get there. I will get there. Karate Paul.
That's funny. So for this belly, we're using that same gray. For the beak, on that belly, we're adding just a smidge of brown to kind of neutralize that tone just a little bit. And we're working our way down, but not covering all the belly yet because we want to kind of lighten it up. So the darker colors are on the edge, which is the shadow kind of going around underneath of the body. And then as we kind of come back around, it's going to get lighter. And just some streaks of color. I'm just throwing some yellow in, just to add some of that yellow color to it. And I think that was a yellow ochre color. It wasn't yellow yellow, it was that yellow ochre, which is why it looks so gold right there. Again, we're not even cleaning the brush. We just picked up some white, adding some layers on top of the other layers and working our way towards the bottom. Now the feathers on his belly are a little bit softer. They're not as thick and chunky like they are in his wings. So if they're blended in a little bit more, it's not an issue at all. They want them to be a bit softer. Just add in a little purple underneath, pulling that color down to finish it off. Now I've got that little curve going straight down, and these are the top of the legs. So those feathers, instead of going along the same lines of the body, they're kind of short little stripes. So I think it's just two layers of stripes there for the tops of the legs, but it just kind of gives that defining shape of this is where the legs start and the belly begins. So
There's a lot of blending,
yeah, but you know,
but they're all
I
really
like to
nice. Yeah, I love that kind of
blend.
goldy ochre. Yeah, I know. That's to me, the on-canvas blending is what makes it very therapeutic. I love the art therapy aspect of what we get to do. It's amazing. Especially on a Friday night. You're kind of like, I'm unwinding, I'm closing my computer, and I am, well, I guess you're using your computer now, but you're turning off your email, we'll say, and turning on the fun.
Yeah, put on some relaxing spa music, get a glass of wine, and just paint the evening away.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd love that.
So now we are taking a chunk of that yellow and a little smidge of the yellow ochre, and this is going to be the eye color. So you want to color in that whole circle area for the eyes. And yeah, that you don't want it bright yellow and that yellow ochre tones it down just enough. And then just picking up a little bit of white and putting a little bit of white underneath on the bottom eyelid.
I feel like this goes in line with a makeup tutorial.
Totally.
We could be, who knows? We could be makeup artists next, Jill.
That is not my thing.
We'll just
I
stick to
could
being
paint
artists.
it away, but for some reason I cannot figure out this whole makeup thing. It's so foreign to me.
That's too funny. More of this gold color. I love it.
Yeah, so that darker yellow, that yellow ochre, you're going to use just on the outside of that circle, on the inner corner of the eye and the outer corner of the eye. And that difference in color between that brighter yellow and this ochre will give the eye this illusion that there's actually shape to it and roundness. So it gives like the outer corners like some depth and roundness to it. And I'm using the brown, the burnt sienna. I think it's burnt sienna.
Yeah.
For the actual eye color. And because my yellow is still wet, it kind of got brighter than I wanted it to. So we're going to do a couple layers of this brown. So you want to paint these circles in fairly large, but you still want a very thin line of that yellow on the outside of that eye to kind of stick out. Probably should have used a hairdryer on this. So it would have saved a couple of layers, but it's fine. It works. It'll work. And then once you get the brown to the tone that you like, you can add the black inner pupil. Is that the
Yeah.
pupil?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's going to be kind of towards the top.
So now you're going to get your detail brush and we are going to do the outline of the eye and these long luscious lashes.
This part cracks me up because you make it look so easy. That is, if you're working with a detail brush, especially one from our kit, what I always recommend is dipping it, the black paint and having a little bit of water, dabbing the excess water off onto a napkin, and just so that the black paint has a little bit of liquid, and just trying to imagine you're just trying to get the tip of your detail brush around the edge. You don't want the entire brush to like press down, otherwise you get a really thick line. Unless you're going for very thick eyeliner.
That's fine too. And my other tip to add to that is whenever you're painting or drawing circles, don't put your elbow on the table and then draw the circle with your wrist, because then you'll get more of an oval shape. You want to use your whole entire arm to draw that circular shape, and that's why it's so easy for me. Is you just use the tip of the brush. You can use the tip of your pinky to kind of stabilize it, but you still want to draw that circle with your entire arm and not just your wrist.
I love that. What are your tips on the perfect eyeliner? Because that's what that is right there. Perfect.
Practice.
Yes, exactly.
And now with that same small detail brush, we're just going into the white and we're making quick little white streaks along the crown of her head. They're just tiny little strokes of color just to break up that solid colors there. And a couple underneath her eyes just to separate that pink and that darker color. And if you want, you can just add a couple little streaks here and there around the face, and then a little smidge of white on one side of that beak, just to give it a little bit of a highlight. Now, the bird is basically done. So now we're going to start working on the background flowers. So it's just a long red stem going straight up, and then the leaves on this are just like teardrop shapes. So they're not even a hard shape, they're not complicated, and they're just swatches of color. So it looks like a balloon at this point, but they're just teardrop shapes upside down and just that solid red color.
This is just like a rainbow of color coming down the side. I love it. We hit every color.
Of course.
Especially with this painting. It's just so much fun. And like I was saying, I was doing a painting yesterday. It was similar with the flowers, and I was saying like, if you find a shape that you absolutely love, feel free to deck out the background in that kind of flowery shape. You know, you might do one flower and say, "Oof, I don't like the way it came out," but you might love the vine. Just stick to the vine. Do whatever brushstrokes suit and whatever flowers you can kind of do in a way that makes you happy. You want the background to kind of be like a little wallpaper, right?
Yeah. And the stem doesn't have to reach the bottom of the canvas. I think these two little red leaves, it just stops. It's just about filling up that background with just shapes and colors. And there, I just put some dots around that one, a couple dots there, and along the leaves and shapes there. And we start with red and we go through the rainbow. Like add a little bit of yellow to make it pinky coral colors to kind of pull in with the owl feathers. And then add some more curvy leaf shapes there. They can be as big as you want, as small as you want, as many as you want. Chunk of that color above, some dots going down, a couple stems going down there. Grab some green here, made some green stems. So it's just wherever you'd like to place them. This is just a nice bright blue leaf. Comes out of nowhere, but it's fine. We're going to overlap it with the bird as well. Sticking with that blue color, we're going to put a couple smaller blue leaves behind it. And this also gives the illusion that they're farther away in the background. These ones are lavender, pale purple, lighter purple. And again, they're just teardrop shapes or little almond type shapes. Grab some white. Just put swatches of color in the shape of a flower right in front of the owl. And there's several flowers in front of the owl. So they can be all different shapes and sizes and colors. I did a couple that were white with yellow centers, some with purple centers, one that was just a red flower.
See, I love doing roses as well, so I feel like I find a place for them. But I just love what you did with the details of the dots around the vines. It just adds to it. And it's not even something that you notice when you first look at the painting. Literally, like I said, the first thing I notice is the owl's eyes, but there's just so much you can add to it. So get creative with the background, especially with the colors.
Yeah, and that white kind of brings a little bit of more brightness to it as well. And it's just a nice little detail to add these little white teardrops underneath. And then some of the flowers are round, some of them are just chunks of paint strokes. And the edges aren't very defined, but then I kind of go back with additional colors and add to that. So, and we'll see here in a second here, I'm adding some green leaves behind that. And it's all about kind of taking a step back, looking at the space that you want to fill and what color you haven't really used. We hadn't really used a lot of green in here, so that chunk of green at the top is a really nice splash of that color. And then even with the yellow, I'm adding a layer of yellow over top of that. Here's the yellow chunks in the center. Couple yellow dots. Quick rinse and get rid of any of that excess water. If you have a lot of water in your brush and then you go to paint, sometimes that water will drip down the brush and onto your painting, and then everything will kind of smear out, which is kind of annoying. So yeah, and then going back, you can see I just added some of that light purple to the tips of those white petals. Grabbed a chunk of that red to make a red flower. And then the blue centers. And added some blue to the tips of these petals up here. And it's literally starting from the outside and just lightly flicking the brush towards the center. And then there I did the same thing, but I started in the inside and flicked it out. And then I'm grabbing my detail brush and just adding a couple details here and there with the white, just kind of adding dots on the outside of that leaf. A little scribble down the center. Some light reflection in the eyes. And that's what really brings those eyes to life too. I think anytime you paint eyes, you always have to put a little white dot in their eyes for the reflection.
Absolutely.
And it makes such a difference. And then a couple white squiggles on the feathers. And then a quick rinse. White feathers along there. Yeah, you just kind of have to kind of look around and see if you're missing anything, if you feel like something needs some added work, and then sign it and you're done.
That's it. That's all. Can you imagine? No, you make it look easy, like I was saying, but it's not. It's not as easy as you think. It does take layers and time, so be patient with it, and you will come out with a masterpiece, no doubt. And like I was saying, you can totally pick your own flowers and put whatever you'd like in there. I would also imagine a lot of people are going to have a lot of different color schemes with their beautiful owls because there's so many different versions you can do. So
yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
My daughter's stealing this, actually. She's stolen it. She's like, I love it so much. So she took it.
Well, I'll put it up on our Instagram now and just say that you guys can vote on the name because I'm dying to know what should we name our cute little owl tutorial. So the other thing I was going to mention is we obviously are doing a ton of both in-person and private virtual events. So if you need anything in that regard, get in touch with us, and then we'll be posting about our next kind of upcoming tutorials and what kind of format you'll see them in. They might be just through YouTube or Instagram Live. So stay tuned and follow us on Instagram to kind of get those information from us. Yeah, we have a lot of really exciting things kind of cooking behind the scenes. So I'm excited to be able to share it with everyone. And when I'm allowed to spill the beans on all the cool things we're working on, I will certainly do that. But in the meantime, we'll keep you guys busy, and yeah, we'll see how it all plays out in the next couple weeks. So if you are, stuck on an idea of a certain painting, because I know we had a few people that sent in a load of great ideas, keep the ideas coming. That is literally what drives Jill and I and the team to kind of create these tutorials for you guys that will be something that you're interested in. So by all means, keep the ideas coming in. And as always, if you purchase a supporter ticket for tonight, and even if you're going to watch it in a week's time, we so appreciate it. And I know if you got the charity ticket as well, we donate the 1-for-1 for charity for IMNDA and Children in Hospital, both amazing organizations. Yeah, that's enough for now, right? And happy Friday. Go and enjoy and have a great weekend. And we will be chatting to you guys on Instagram. So thank you so much for the continued support. And thank you so much to Jill for her time and her amazing expertise in the painting. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. I'm glad to do it.
Absolutely. And yeah, until next time, guys, we will chat to you later. Have a great weekend and enjoy your staycations and all those fun things you're doing. So we'll talk to you